are back for another casual conversation with the classic. I am here, the wrestling classic Justin. I'm here with none other than WWE veteran, former Total Divas star, actress, model, brand ambassador. Everything under the sun. Now a marketing executive for a hedge fund, a cryptocurrency company. What is going on, my friend Danielle? Long time overdue. What's up?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
The red. Oh, wait, you've never seen my red hair?
I have, I believe. In person, I think so. Did you have it at StarCast, was it? Or was it WrestleMania last year?
No, when I saw you.
WrestleMania 2019 New York, definitely saw
2019, yeah. Oh, that's right. The
last WrestleMania that fans were allowed to go to.
Yeah, I was really red then. But now it has like a little bit of blonde through it. And like my natural color is blonde. And a lot of the wrestling fans were commenting on one of my pictures, like, oh, you're going back blonde. And I'm like, am I? And then I'm like, oh yeah, I guess it is kind of. I'm like, not really, but okay.
Would you go back blonde, or do you like this darker color?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I love it like this. And then it sets me apart with like my agencies, like for modeling, like people either 100% want me or don't want me at all. So like it's nice. It's like, no, I'm not like with the brunettes anymore in that area.
You're somewhere in the middle. You're not like fully brunette. You're not fully blonde.
For sure. But I imagine if I ever came back to WWE and like even like was in the Rumble or something, I imagine I would have to go blonde, because I think if they played my music and I came out like this, people would be confused, right?
Maybe. I feel like you kept yourself really relevant over social media and what you've been doing.
Yeah.
I mean, you were in a movie recently too, so like you've doing a lot.
Yeah, but I think social media is only like 10% of wrestling fans. Like I will say, like I'm pretty sure like 1.5 to 1.6 million of my followers is from wrestling, but I do think there's like a couple 100,000 of my followers that are new. But I don't know. We always used to say, well, maybe it's just the marks, because we would always say that. We would always be like on Twitter, like, don't worry if people are being mean to you, or don't worry if someone's saying something, like that's like 5% of your fans.
Yeah.
And like, always don't do things for the, for like the dirt sheets or for Twitter. Do things for the audience at home, because a lot of them are like younger kids and moms or whoever.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe you're right. Like, I guess that is a lot of followers. And Eva did just come back pink, and she was red, right? Or is she red?
She's pink.
Yeah, but I guess that isn't that much of it. Like, this is like I look like a whole nother person. People think I had surgery on my face. People are like, you had like a facelift. I'm like, what? I would not be putting my money in that. I'd be putting my money in Bitcoin, not my face.
Which we're going to talk about very soon.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, like, I think if you were to show up anywhere else, though, hypothetically, you could show up with your red hair, blonde hair, and people wouldn't be too confused. But I think with WWE, you got a point. Maybe they want to see the old Summer Rae that the new.
Maybe. So I'd be down for it. But I will tell you, most men don't know this. So if I ever just go rogue on social media for 3 months, I'm having to dye my hair back. Like, I can't just go dye my hair blonde tomorrow.
It's like a few appointment situation.
Yeah, I mean, it'll fall out. Like, I will say, like, this would be well on its way. But like, I can't just go be blonde. Like, and guy friends that I know, they'll be like, oh, you're going back blonde today? I'm like, what? No.
Not saying that you would do this, but I'm curious as a guy, because I have a sister and I've had ex-girlfriends, so like I know a lot of stuff, but I'm not going to say I know everything.
Yeah.
But like currently in the WWE, it seems like a lot of people are going that wig route.
Yeah. Oh no, I would never wear. I could never do that.
It seems like everyone's keeping the natural hair and doing the wig thing, but that's also because I feel like they expect you to keep a certain look, that you're dyeing your hair so much that's probably damaging it. So you're just like,
I mean, there's some people that just look amazing in like a full-on wig. Like I don't know if Sasha has a full-on, but like she looks amazing in all her hair colors and stuff like that. But then there's just some girls where I'm like, what are you doing? Like, it looks so bad. So like,
for a person like Sasha, I'm like, it probably makes sense, because they'd want her to dye her hair all the time. Like, that can't be healthy for your hair.
Yeah, right? No. And it's like, and it's also like in her culture to like, have, like her hair type texture is so much different than my hair texture. So like for her to be able to wear a wig, it's like better for her natural hair, where like mine, I can afford to like dye it because it like won't be bad. But yeah, it's gotten really long. I will say, out of all the products I promote after WWE, Vital Proteins is like has made my hair grow so much.
Yeah.
I don't get paid by them. They just give me
This
free
is a
product.
shameless plug. There's no pay for this one.
So like if you fellas are having problem with your hair growth, I would take Vital Proteins collagen twice a day. Charlotte takes it. My nails, I haven't like had nail polish on the whole pandemic, and my nails are so long. Like that product is crazy. Jennifer Aniston from Friends is like the new COO, I think, of it. Yeah. And like, yeah, that's a really good product.
I mean, I'm okay with the hair stuff right now. Let's hope
Okay.
it stays that way.
But I think it's only like $25 for like a massive tub. Like it's really a good price point.
We'll check out Vital Protein, guys. Let's talk about the pandemic, though. You brought up the pandemic. I want to ask you because I think, you know, it's good for listeners that have been, I think everybody has kind of had a hard time, especially last year to this year.
Yeah.
The whole pandemic and everything. So as someone who, even yesterday, you put out a post about your grind and how hard you're working, and it's all about, you know, focusing on yourself and your goals. How did you remain doing that during the pandemic? Like, what did you use?
Yeah. I mean,
working hard like that.
I think a big misconception, I think there's a lot of good things with the internet, and I think there's a lot of bad things with the internet. And I think a negative thing with the internet is that there's a big misconception that if you're in the public eye or if you're a celebrity or whatever it is, that like you didn't lose a bunch of money,
or hurt
all your money during the pandemic. Like if you're a smart celebrity, you have your money in property, like you've put your money into a home or stocks or crypto or whatever it is. If you're smart, or you've invested, you have like how Eva has a clothing line, you've invested a majority amount of money in a clothing line. If you've put $40,000 in your startup and then the pandemic happens, not only have you lost that, but you're not making an income either. So like, I think there's this like weird disconnect. I think a lot of people see like the WWF era and like people like who was the person that had the GoFundMe for his surgery? Jake the Snake?
It was Jake the Snake, and everyone went to go support.
Yeah, and like he had the GoFundMe for surgery, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Like he used to make so much money and now he doesn't. And like, wow, like let's help him. So there, but like, oh, he must have partied. And then there's this weird thing where it's like, well, you were just on WWE for 6 years. So the fact that I got a stimulus check, I just remember even making a joke on Instagram about getting a stimulus check, and you should have seen like 30 people were like, you're rich, you didn't get a stimulus check. And I'm like,
a misconception, right?
Yeah, no, I'm just like, in what world do you think I made $75,000 last year? Of course I qualify for a stimulus check.
And I want to ask you too, because I think there's a misconception with anyone in the public eye or celebrities or athletes or social media people that like they didn't suffer as bad with this pandemic as other people did. But I think for a lot of people, it's like, no, like a lot of people had to stop doing what they're doing. Movies were stopped in filming. Like a lot of people got stuck at home. And for a lot of people, it's hard to even be stuck at home because they're not used to that lifestyle either. Like you were still traveling a whole bunch.
Yeah. So like, I mean, even if you're stuck at home in a massive mansion with a pool and stuff, like people are like that level of like suicides and like mental health issues in people with like a lot of money, you know, like sometimes there's like, you don't feel bad for people that have certain assets. And I just think that's not the mindset or like the heart that I want to have. I think that mental health is like a really big, important thing. And I'm really happy that, you know, I guess since like, you know, maybe 2016, 2017, that it's not become normalized talking about mental health, but everyone has their issues. And yeah, I think it was hard for anyone, forget money, for anyone to go from living their life and doing things to all of a sudden, like you maybe can't visit your family. Like I couldn't see my grandma. She's 91 years old. Like
your grandma's a legend, by the way.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The Summer Rae fans love my grandma.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, not being able to see your friends and family. So for me personally, well, everything stopped. So appearances completely stopped, of course. And then I also do some businesses where I manage Airbnbs. And so, of course, everyone canceled their Airbnbs. So gave everyone a refund, of course. And then I was like, man, I was in New York and it was like Will Smith movie where everything. Oh my gosh, I Am Legend. I remember walking down Fifth Avenue going, wow. I was one of two people on Fifth Avenue. I got on the subway. There was no one on the subway. We had an Amber Alert that went off on our phones that said COVID-19, make sure to wear your like this, that. And I was like, man, I got to get out of here. So you go home and everything stops. So there's no money. Now, I will say what I'm fortunate with is that, of course, I did save. I'm not a person to like, buy Louis Vuittons or, buy expensive shoes and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't care about that. So luckily, like I saved. I know Emma's really good friends with me. And that's another thing. Like Emma, her whole family lives in Australia. Like she's scared. She can't go drive to see her family. She's stuck in Orlando. I'm worried about her family. Australia was wild.
It was,
Cops breaking down people's doors in Australia, taking like pregnant women that were like not wearing masks, like crazy stuff. And so it's like, yeah, I guess you just never know people's situation. But for me, the pandemic was, now hindsight 2020, the best thing to ever happen to me. And I'm very hesitant when I say that out loud because I know that people lost their lives. I know people that lost family members from it. And like, obviously everyone went into debt. I mean, half my friends were supposed to be evicted and they're not evicting anyone.
Yeah.
Also, like they're riding that wave. So it's like, when I say it was the best thing that ever happened to me, I think I was cruising. I was riding the WWE wave for a while, which is fine for some, but to my standards, I don't want to be 45, doing wrestling appearances, which, hey, make your money however you want to. If someone wants to give me money to go side, I want to meet my friends.
I was going to say, you're going to still do it, but it's not like the only thing you want to do.
I want to be known for other things. I want to, like, of course, like have a family one day of my own and like be able to, I just think I have so much more to give to the world than what I've done. I think what I did, Summer Rae, is like, like 15% of me. Like it's so like, I even now, like I want to have a family, I want to have kids, but I also think I'm meant for so many bigger things in this world that maybe if I don't have kids, it's okay, because I just think that I'm meant to like change this world and like make it a better place. And so taking these appearances away from me, being at home, being like, holy crap, what am I going to do? Made me be like, okay, you need to get your shit together.
It forced your hand to figure out other things to do.
You really had to figure out other things to do. And let me just go ahead and tell you, I almost started 4 businesses, at least 4. Now, I had someone tell me, oh gosh, someone really close to me, and this I think about it all the time. It annoyed me to no end. It was like in August. And he was like, I said something about like, oh, I'm thinking about starting this headband company. It was this headwear company. It was going to be called Bow Bands for like professional athletes, anyone that plays baseball, football, you wear this headband, yogis. And whoever this person was, they said, oh, like, that's cool. Like, must be nice. Like, that must be really nice to like, for you to know how to do that. And I said, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, but like for you to have the money. I said, I'm not investing my own money. A bad business person invests their own money in their things. I'm finding investors. And he's like, oh, it is 2020. It was 2020. Like, you have the internet. Like, I don't give a shit about, it's just mean. This is mean. But like, I really don't give a shit about anyone's issues or problems, or like, we have the internet, you Google it. Like, I didn't know how to start my own business. I said, how to start a business. I looked it up. I got on business TikTok, which business TikTok is just
I've never been there.
Amazing place.
I need to check that part of TikTok. I try not to open TikTok because every time I open up, it's just a rabbit hole of God knows what.
Totally. Once you get on business TikTok, if you comment and like on, like, say you find someone's pouring wine on TikTok, if you comment and like, their algorithm specifically then will show you bottles of wine or business. So I always like comment on, like, now I'm trying to get on crypto TikTok. So I try to comment every time it pops up, and then you'll see it's more and more. TikTok has an amazing algorithm. So I didn't know what a 3PL is. A 3PL is a place that houses your products. When you get an order in, they then fulfill your order and ship it out for you. Like, when, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure, like, when Eva first started her clothing line, she would post pictures of her and Jonathan doing their own. So they obviously were saving money, didn't have that. I didn't know what any of this was. And I just Googled it. And then there's
everything I've done has been through Google and just working with people that might have already done it.
100%. Because guess what? No one's ever going to give you that
Yeah,
opportunity.
no one taught me how to set up an interview and do all this stuff. I just figured it out along the way.
No.
And this all started because of the pandemic too, because I'm like, I can't travel no more.
Oh,
Like,
everyone
sit down with my friends and talk. Like, I don't know.
For sure. And that's another thing. Like, I've Googled how to start a podcast before. For a podcast, there's entry-level advertisers. If you don't have advertisers, you can go on a website, submit your podcast, submit your demographic. If you have 5 people listening, you can make a little bit of money advertising, and you just put your name in a website. I don't want to fund my own project. If I need $10,000 to put my own clothing, like my own headband run, you go to crowdfunding.com. There's a couple different things. We just actually signed up for one with another company I'm working for. So like, I don't know how to do any of this stuff. And I just Googled it. And my mom did say to me mid-pandemic, she said, I can't keep up with you. and I was like, Mom, no, and I found a manufacturer in China that was like ethical and all this stuff. My mom did say, she was like, listen, I can't keep up with you. But the good thing about that is that you throw so many things against the wall that one thing one day will stick. And a lot of people are scared to throw things against the wall. And probably because they don't want to fail. I don't care. I'll fail a million times. The Rock talks about it all the time. The Rock has failed at a million different things, but he's not. Every time you fail, your feelings get hurt less and less.
Yeah, and you're okay to fail again.
Oh my gosh! Every time
you know what not to do because you failed the last time.
1,000%. Every time a girl dumps you, a boy dumps you, it hurts less and less. Every time you go to interview for something and someone says no, cool. But if you never go out for an job interview and then you get said no, your feelings are hurt. So it's just repetitions.
Everything is experience and learning from the experiences. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Go back to what you were saying before. There's nothing wrong with saying the pandemic is the greatest thing that might have happened to you. Because yes, a lot of people unfortunately did have worst case scenarios with this pandemic. But I do strongly believe in the whole idea of a personal level, like for yourself or like for myself, that this pandemic, you know, everything happens for a reason. And I'll look back at this pandemic, and I hate 2020. Like I genuinely hate 2020 for various reasons. Which this is not an interview with me, so we're not going to get into it. But I still look back at it now. I'm like, well, I guess I had to go through that year because now I'm doing everything I'm doing now because I went through that year and everything that happened. It made me force change and like try different things and I like by the end of 2020, I tapped out. Like from like July till like November, I wasn't doing anything. And then January kicked off this year, and I'm not like a New Year's resolution guy, but I'm like, no, we're gonna turn everything back on. It's 2021. Let's start, you know.
And just us being home, like I know a lot of people spent time more with family, or people that didn't have family realized, wow, I'm lonely. It's just me. I need to make time to date when I get out of this. I want to have a baby when I get out of this. Or I want to get out of this and have sex with everyone. Like whatever it was, you realize a lot with yourself. But I will say there are probably people that went through that pandemic and were the same. And that's just sad. You know, like now when I'm crazy busy now, and I'm so tired and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm about to like mentally lose it. I think about those 5 months being at home and I'm like, whew, let's go. Like I should probably go to the gym today. Like, because it's just amazing. Like you feel like very fortunate to just be out of the house. And for the people,
I started going for runs and I hated runs. I hated going for runs.
People like that are at home and like still not getting a job and like still hasn't taken off for you and stuff like that. Like, people are coming around, businesses are coming around, so many new businesses have come from this. As long as you're going out every day, as long as you're on LinkedIn every day, as long as you're on Facebook Marketplace or whatever it is, connecting with people and networking, like you have to like give yourself grace too, because it's only the 5th month of this year. Like we're not even halfway through. So like, most of the time when I post motivational things on my Instagram, it's to remind myself. Like
I always say that when people ask me, like, "Oh, you always do that?" I'm like, honestly, most of the time I do that. It's for me to read, so I'm like, "Oh yeah," like, and then everyone else hopefully helps you. Like,
for sure. And so it's not like I'm not like, oh, I have my stuff all together right now, but it's like I also do think I laid the concrete, like I laid the foundation all last year for this. I didn't know what direction I would go in, but I kept bettering myself to make myself better. So when opportunities would come my way, I could be able to pick them up, or I would just be ready to receive them. there's a great website and subscription service if anyone at home wants to learn. Like my dad, I think almost everyone in my family was out of work except for my mom during the pandemic. And a lot of my friends that I remember just like asking them, I'm like, well, are you taking courses? And like so many of my friends would be like, no, I'm just going to I'm watching more Netflix. And in my head, I'm like, that's fine. But I just think you're not using, like, I don't think you're going to be motivated to get out and go for a walk and do push-ups if you're watching Netflix all day. If you're learning and feeding yourself, other parts of you are going to be like, you know, maybe I should go for a walk or whatever.
Yeah.
But this website is called Masterclass. Have you ever heard of it?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so masterclass.com is the best thing that I purchased. I got it last November. I think it got it on their Black Friday sale.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's only $100 a year, which is $8 a month. That's my fast math.
Yeah, that's okay.
$8 a month, which is amazing. And they have about 40 major celebrities or CEOs or top chefs, whatever it is in your field, and they teach you a masterclass. I have taken Samuel L. Jackson's acting class.
Oh, wow.
There is the CEO of Spanx, that company. She talks. So there's about 10 entrepreneur classes where you can sit, and they're only 20-minute classes, and they teach about 10 to 15 20-minute classes. Samuel L. Jackson taught me how to act for $8.
$8, yeah, that's insane.
And listen, like there were times where I was like, oh God, let me watch that one again. I spaced out. Like there's times where I don't want to do it, but it's like when you're at home, when will we ever get this time to teach ourselves? Sure, there's YouTube.
Yeah.
Tons of stuff on YouTube, but Masterclass is the coolest thing ever. Like I love that.
I do think this is gonna be a little off topic, but I do think that's just a thing that I think society's kind of forgetting because we have so many ways to distract ourselves, whether it's our phone, whether it's Netflix or TV. I'm like, there's a lack of time where, like, I remember being a kid and getting kicked off of the TV and just sitting there and you're like, you had to create things for yourself to do or learn something. Like, you know?
Well, no one is ever going to teach you how to overthrow them. No one's ever going to give you the education to take their job.
No, 100%.
Steal them. So, of course, there's Netflix. Of course, there's Hulu. And all of a sudden, conveniently, it's $3 cheaper during quarantine. Of course, there's all these things because they don't want you to learn about money. Because then you'll take it from them. They don't want you to learn about investing. Most people we learned about during the pandemic, most people don't have more than 1 month's rent saved up. And I will say, I didn't even know if I had 3 months saved up. And so it's like, dang, okay, say I'm done now. I'm getting evicted. It's only a matter of time before I get evicted. How can I stop this? You're not going to stop it by putting your paycheck in your bank every month. You need to learn how to invest. You need to go on YouTube and say like how to make money, how to earn money. No one's going to teach us how to start these companies. So it's like, like, of course there's YouTube, of course there's Hulu and Netflix and all this stuff. I am the worst wannabe actress ever. Like, I don't even want to be an actress, but like, I'm the worst. Like, I've seen nothing.
Fair enough. Okay.
I've seen no TV shows. And mind you, you should. Like, I'm not saying like don't give yourself time. Like, find a happy medium. I'm ridiculous.
That's the best advice is to find a happy medium because I think like just go do other things. Like if it's nice outside and you're inside just watching Netflix all day, like go outside.
For
sure.
Enjoy
the fresh. Go for a walk if you don't want to go for a run. Just go to the beach. Just go outside. Enjoy life.
Like, you had to get outside during quarantine. When I had COVID, which I don't think I've like publicly said, but when I had COVID, I remember being like, oh my gosh, I need sunlight. Like, I was like, I have to go outside with my mask on, with gloves on. I didn't touch anything, but I'm like far away from people. Like that air, I was like, oh my gosh. And like, I'm an extreme extroverted introvert. And like, since like being in Miami, I've been in Miami since the beginning of March. I am now like never going outside. Like I go outside to the gym and I just sit here on my computer and I'm working and I'm working and I'm working. And that was what my Instagram post was about last night. And I'm happy. Like if I wasn't happy, like, so I'm happy working. Like I am happy being this busy. I am not in a relationship. I am not worrying about family drama, man drama, nothing. I am working, but it's like, Danielle, you need to go outside. Like you, or
I have to remind myself that sometimes too. If it's like a day, I'm like, okay, look, I didn't go anywhere yesterday. Like today, even if it's like, go for a drive, go to the store, just get one task that's an outside task done. Just go outside.
Yeah. But I do fully believe in like, if you really, I mean, it is stupid, but half the stuff I quote are these stupid, dumb Instagram things that I post, because I really do think if you do devote 6 months of your life just concentrating and having no distractions, if you have a significant other in your life that gives you mental freedom and happiness and is drama free, then God bless you. But having no romantic, like obstacles and not watching TV and not watching movies and just grinding, I swear to you, your life will change. And say you don't have a job, grinding with fitness, eating, and educating yourself. Educate. Like they say, like Jeff Bezos and Warren Buffett, Mark Cuban, they read like 3 hours a day. I don't read. I am too ADD. That's why I joined Clubhouse, because I love like the audio.
Is great. That's a whole
like the audio version of it, or podcasts. I listen to podcasts. I listen to the Breakfast Club every day. It is the hip hop show that's nationally syndicated. I listen to that. Is that teaching me how to cure cancer?
No, but you'll learn something from there.
I learn daily news. I learn what's happening in the world. I learn about what's happening to Black lives. And I'm a white girl. That is very, very, very important. So it's like I listen to that every day while I'm making breakfast. I will say there is a 30-day challenge that I tried to do for myself. I did it for 10 days straight. So I'm a little disappointed in myself, but I liked myself the best. Was every morning I tried to listen to this one audio thing. I'm going to have to put it up. We'll put it in the comment section here.
I'm down. I'll put
it was either like,
You're promoting a lot of stuff here. You're just a true brand ambassador.
Oh my God.
Everyone should be paying you at this point.
Well, listen, this is the crazy thing.
We got Masterclass, we got Vital Proteins.
This is the crazy thing. This is from the 80s.
Yeah.
And this is a professor from the 80s.
Yeah.
And it was the mindset of the wealthy. I can't remember, the mindset of the rich man or something like that. And I saw something that someone's like, if you listen to it for 30 days, your life will change. I'm like, well, what do I have to lose? You know? And mind you, this is like after I've just booked my jobs and all this stuff. I'm like, okay. And the first couple of times I was like, really had to listen and rewind it, because I'm like, oh, that's good. And then his sayings after a couple of days became sayings in my head. And the fact that this man in the 80s is saying things that is relevant 40 years later is just mind-blowing. It has millions of views on YouTube.
Yeah.
Look it up. Millions of views on YouTube. And people commenting from recent time going, I can't believe that this is still relevant. And it was just, it really changed my life. I try to kind of do yoga at night. Not my thing. But like, just try. If you don't have a job right now, help yourself. And so much is free. Free yoga class. YouTube is all.
Even if you're working from home, which a lot of people are right now, you can manage working and listen to a podcast and doing stuff on the side. A lot of people.
Totally.
You know, the luxury you don't get when you go to the office, you can do from home.
And that's really important too. Yeah. People that are working from home and that have kids or nagging wives, nagging husbands, it's really, really important that you get time for yourself. So I think that's where health and fitness could come in into play, because you're stimulating like a different part of your brain. Okay, this is what it is. It is Jim Rohn, The Mindset and Attitude of Thinking Wealthy.
Jim Rohn. Rohn or Rohn?
R-O-H-N.
R-O-H-N. I'm going to check this guy. I already feel like he's going to have like a professor.
Look at this
voice, but I'm not sure.
white dude.
But I'm gonna check it out today when I go, because I'm probably gonna go for a walk down to the beach.
The mindset and attitude of thinking wealthy, 2.9 million views. And y'all, I have to travel this week, but when I come back, I have 2 weeks in between horse racing that I can be home. And I'm going to give that gift to me. I'm going to say, Danielle, every morning, and I get migraines from the wrestling, from like my bad neck. So like there's sometimes on the mornings where I'm like, I can't listen to that in the morning. I have to be quiet in the morning, on the mornings where I feel like I'm going to get a headache. But I listen to it at night, and I really felt like I was missing something. So it's like your habits, like whenever you have a habit, that becomes what you're used to. And when everything's going wrong in your life, you resort back to that. If there's a death in your family,
that's true.
You know, if there's
I find myself doing stuff like I used to do when I was a little kid, when I'm like something bad happens, I'm like, how am I still doing this? I've been doing this since I was like 11 years old. Like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sad. I'm gonna go eat something really shitty right now.
Right. Well, exactly. And so if you have food as your comfort or food as your habit, when you're happy, let's reward myself. When I'm sad, let's reward myself with food. If food is always your thing, that's fine. Sure.
Yeah.
But is that a healthy habit that you would like
and
to
what foods are you picking? Because
And like for me, it's the gym, because when I'm in a good mood, I want to go get a good lift in. When I'm sad, I want to get an angry lift in. When I'm not feeling good about myself. So like that, and listening to music, because you and I both love music. So it's like
everything.
You listen to music at the gym. So it's like a habit, they say, is something like if you do it for 30 days, right?
30 days?
Like, it's like 3 weeks. Like it's like
3 weeks, I think.
Days becomes a habit.
It's a different number. You can Google it.
So I was just short of that. But it's like, I really read that your habits and rituals are what you lean on when things go wrong in your life. And it's like, when people go through a breakup, why do they all of a sudden go to the gym? Yeah, because they want to get a revenge body, but also because it's like that outlet. You know?
It lets you release something. When when you go through a breakup, most of the time you got to find ways to distract yourself, and the gym is a great way to distract yourself.
For sure.
Keeping busy is the goal, guys.
Yeah, busy, being around good people, for sure. So I don't know, building good habits. So if you don't have a job right now or anything, invest in yourself, get good habits. You know, it's
switching gears really quickly. Most of us remember you as Summer Rae from the WWE.
Yes.
And we haven't talked about any wrestling. We're like 30 minutes in, so I almost wasn't wrestling out here.
Tell me. Let's talk about
was because I feel like I've seen you do interviews. I've seen you talk to people in the past, but it's been quite a while. So like for the people that don't, like, was that something you always want to do? Did you want to be like, was that a goal of yours to become a professional?
Yeah. So like, I don't know.
I feel like people need to hear this more now than before, because now you haven't done it for so long. Like, I want people to know that no, you actually were a wrestling fan and you wanted to.
It was like it was a dream of mine, but I don't think I thought it was an attainable dream. So I went after a lot of other things, and then I watched it growing up, of course, but then I started watching it when I was a grown woman, like in my mid-20s. And people would go out on Monday nights, and I would be like, I just want to watch Monday Night Raw. And I remember watching, what was his name from South Africa? A long time, PJ.
PJ Black, Justin Gabriel.
Justin Gabriel. I remember watching Justin Gabriel and Randy Orton, and like that's not like old, but like it was probably like maybe like 2 years before I went out.
2009, 2010,
Yeah, and I remember like that was when I like started to really get into it again. Not that like I was like, I just remember they posted something about Justin Gabriel in South Africa, and then I remember going there, and I was like, what, with WWE? And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. But so like I was super into it, and I remember being like, oh, I love it. And then I went to Puerto Rico because my ex-boyfriend was playing basketball in Puerto Rico. And so I didn't really have like a job for like 3 weeks, because I was like traveling with him and like helping him with stuff. And I was like, man, I think I really want to do this. So I would read the dirt sheets, because I'm like, okay, I'm not just going to
Did you have an athletic background already? Like, did you grow up in sports and stuff?
So I played lingerie football league for 3 years before WWE, and then in high school I played tennis, ran track, I jumped hurdles. But I definitely
you already had the athletic background. Like you felt like you
but I'm not athletic. I always got 8th place. I always got last place. My mom gave me the ribbon. So I definitely had to like train to be athletic. I'm athletic now, but my mom would always be like, you had to work way harder than everyone. Like you had to train yourself, which is cool. You know, I felt like,
experiences, right? It disciplined you.
yeah, like I felt, oh yeah, I love team sports. Like I think kids have to be in team sports to learn that. And so I remember watching it on TV, and I remember being like, okay, well, I'm not just going to have this job for a year. I need to make sure, like, see how mean the fans are, how good they are, read the gossip. So I got super into dirt sheets. I was reading Diva Dirt every day.
Shout out to them.
And I was like messaging with like a couple super fans to be like, oh, what do I need to know about this, that, blah, blah, blah. So
and shout out to you actually, because you were one of the first people that ever like actually responded to me on my page. And I was like, oh, they're looking at this.
I don't
they're looking at this. It was you were one of the first. It was you and Brooke Adams, and it was when I was 23 and I was a secret person. Nobody knew my identity or name, so I was just balls to wall, exaggerated version of myself. And you would comment on my post, and I'm like, oh, they see this. I was like,
yeah, and I even to this day like comment on posts, and like I think at FCW I was known for like being cool to the fans and like going out to eat with fans here and there, and then like Tyler and I, which is one of my like fans from a really early age, he was a big fan of mine.
Yeah,
I went and met him and his family on the road in Texas, and I remember like getting a bunch of fans messaging me like, oh my gosh, like I want to be like, we need our people that we like to be like Summer Rae. But really, I just thought he was just an amazing person. He was so young. He was like 15, and he ended up coming to stay at my house a couple of years later in LA, and he had never been to LA before. And I like had him stay. And to this day, like we still talk here and there, but like, I don't know, people are just people. Like you can't do that with every single person. Sometimes it's psychotic, but like, yeah. So I wanted to be in WWE. I woke up really early to get the pre-sale tickets for Hampton, Virginia. Like, I remember the building. I think Hampton Roads, Virginia. Yeah. And I did the pre-sale. I got 4th row. I was trying to get 1st row. And I said, okay, cool. Like I'm going to drive there. And I had met Jerry Lawler the year before at a Comic-Con. I was working for Marvel, and I met Jerry, and I was like, I want to be a wrestler. And he was so funny what he said. He was like, oh, you just go to Tampa. You get hired. You go to Tampa. You train for 6 months. Then you go on TV and you travel the world. Which, yeah, right. Like Bailey was in developmental for 3 years. Like it's crazy. Like what? Maybe like a little during my era. Like Cam got pulled up quick. Caitlyn got super.
You did
quick.
too, in a sense, once you were on TV though. From
so I was like a year and a half in development.
Yeah,
I almost got called up 6 months before with Damien Sandow.
Okay,
almost. And so
what were they gonna have you do with Sandow?
I was going to be like his girl. Like I was going to be his valet, and we had a whole thing together. I had a flight.
Were you going to be like an intellectual too, or was that like?
I don't know. I actually can't remember that. It's clear, but they had my flight booked. I had a flight booked to London because he debuted in London in April, which is crazy because then I actually ended up debuting in London in April a year after with Jericho. So it was like a full year, but I wasn't ready at all. I mean, I wasn't even ready when I got called up, in my opinion. I also don't
you
think
guys are killing
ready.
it too with the whole BFFs thing with you, Sasha and Charlotte. And I'm like, and then they just gripped you away. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Totally. I also don't think you're ever really ready. I think you just have to go. And like people, like fans are so ridiculous in that sense when they're like, oh, she's not ready. Like how, like, oh, she's up there. But, and I'm like, first of all,
we don't know
why would you say no? Like you get the call and you're like, you know what?
Well, it's like what I used to say.
You get fired.
Yeah, it's also the whole, like what I used to say about Roman when everyone was hating Roman. They're like, oh, why is Roman in this? I'm like, if I was Roman, I wouldn't say no to any opportunity they gave me.
First
I don't care if the fans like it or don't like it. Like I wouldn't
say no, and you can't say no. Like
what?
And so it's like crazy for people to be like, well, because I got caught up before Paige, and I knew instantly. I'm like, oh my gosh, the fans are going to hate me. Like she deserves to be there. Like I don't. Like this is crazy. And I remember like Saraya like told me, she was like, congratulations, this is great. And she was like, does it suck you're getting called up before me? Sure. She was like, but also I can't be Fandango's dancer. Like that's great. Like, what would I
Yeah.
do? And so when the fans were mad, I'm like, what do you want? Like a gothic chick to be Fandango's dancer? You'd be
Yeah.
so disappointed. You'd be so pissed. Like, you can't have that. So it's interesting too when people get mad for you getting called up. So yeah, so I bought my tickets. I had met Jerry before, and I emailed him. I was like, hey, just let you know, I'm going to be at this show. And he was like, cool, I'll bring you backstage, introduce you to John Laurinaitis, and, see if we can get a tryout. I was like, great. He's like, do you need tickets? I'm like, honey, no, I have like 4th row tickets. And he told that to me. He's like, I was really impressed that you had done your due diligence to get your tickets. And I went backstage, and I remember, oh my gosh, I had the most horrible excuse of a reel ever. It was like 3 full-on interviews from like Lingerie Football League where they were like 9 minutes each.
Yeah.
And now knowing like Triple H and like WWE, no one watched that. Like, what? But like, also too, it's good that I brought it. Like, and I think I typed up a resume. Who knows?
It worked. At the end of the day, it worked. Whatever.
Yeah. And
whatever you had, it helped out.
And I remember I gave it to Johnny Hunter, and then they brought me backstage, and like all the girls gave me like horrible death stares. And I was wearing like the shortest little shorts and tank top. So I probably would have death stared me too. And when I went back there, though, it was like, it was like the twins, Eve, Maurice, like it was still that time.
Yeah.
Kelly, I think, was back there, Barbie. I never call her Kelly. That's so weird. I just called her Kelly. And so, of course, they stared at me. And Johnny Laurinaitis was good. And they were like, okay, cool. Let's have you do a tryout. And then I made the all-star game for the Lingerie Football League. And it was like my 2nd year. And so I faked an injury during the All-Star Lingerie Football League because I went, I'm not going out here and tearing my MCL, ACL, PCL and not be able to go to WWE. I don't even want to be in the LFL. I'm just doing it because I was scared to go after my real dreams. So had my tryout, hardest thing I've ever done in my whole life. I cried every night in the hotel. My back was spasming. You lay in bed and it's like spasming and you can't sleep. And thank goodness for my mom, because I called her and she could have been like, come on home, and I never listened to my parents, but I was so defeated how hard the trial. I mean, nowadays they can't do much, right? But like with us, it was like, whatever you learn from Monday to Thursday, on Thursday, you're putting it on tape and it's getting sent up to Connecticut. So learn as much as you can. So I learned, I was locking up, I was learning arm drags, like not even like a takeover, like arm drags. I got hip tossed, like the full thing. Now it's like, I don't even think they'll arm drag you, right? Yeah. And I went home and my mom was like, when I was on the phone with her, and she goes, well, you're there. She's like, you need to stay and you need to do it out. And I wasn't going to quit, but I was definitely impressionable because.
What was your first Vince compliment? I like to ask that to people if they remember their first time Vince complimented them or gave you the feedback you wanted, because he's that intimidating figure to everybody.
Oh, Vince loved me. Okay. I love Vince. I would walk my butt straight into Vince's office. Vince did not scare me at all. Okay. Actually, when I had, he's scary.
No, I know. A lot of people, not a lot of people, there's been people like Chad who told me the same thing. He's like, once you break that barrier with them, you just walk in his office.
Who said?
Shad Gaspard. When I used to
Shad Titus. Oh my God, loves Titus. But it's like, mind you, like, you have to be respectful. I would never just walk in this office. I would knock, and then you
weren't intimidated to go in there
for hours and hours and hours. But if I was ever having an issue, or when I was thinking of leaving, I went and talked to him. I remember it was by the border in Texas, so not San Antonio, but it was like one of the smaller towns we have TV in, because I remember it was like literally like the cops were waiting at the border for trips. Like, I can't remember where we were. And I remember I had like talks with him for that too, because I was like, I respect him and I respect you, and I want to tell you where my head is at with this injury. And he, even when I didn't try to quit. I did try to quit
Yeah.
Toronto wouldn't let me.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't trying to quit. I was like being like, I was on injury and I'm like, either bring me back or let me go. Like, because they had me in this pivoted like moment where like I couldn't go do other things, but I was still getting injured pay, but like it was crazy. And so I remember.
What was the injury? Like, when did the injury happen? I don't think people know about this.
Yeah. So like,
why? I think a lot of people are always wondering, like, why aren't you wrestling anymore? And it's like, I don't think they know there is an injury.
Yeah. So like, it never like happened like like something just happened. It was from time over time. So I have two things. I have a bone spur on a vertebrae in my neck. I'm pretty sure it's C4. I can't remember. So from that, I think it's just the over and over from bumps.
Yeah.
Like you tuck your chin, but like you don't tuck your, I mean, you try to tuck your chin. And so it's like here. But like a lot of old people live with bone spurs. Like, you know, that's a thing. But I have thoracic outlet syndrome. So your thoracic is kind of like, so you're, okay, so most people don't know this, but this is your first rib. So your trap is technically your first rib. People think your ribs are under your chest.
Yeah, down here, yeah.
So this is your first rib, and your thoracic is from there to like here. So all like above a girl's boobs and like y'all's pecs. So I remember I was at a photo shoot. I had just started kind of doing the photo shoots. I was like, okay, they weren't really using me on TV much and this and that. And I had like gotten a publicist. And I was like, okay, I want to start doing more stuff for Danielle Moinet instead of Summer Rae online, because it just was smart. Like I don't think I'm going to get fired. I'm not going to leave, but like, I'm not on TV. Let's start doing some stuff, you know? And I remember I was at a photo shoot and I was just posing and they were like, oh, okay, can you like pose like this? And they wanted me to like go like this or something. And I was like, yeah. So I did it. And they were like, no, like this. And I went, no, I know, like this. And I put my shoulders back. And then Annie, my publicist, comes up to me. She goes, no, put your shoulders back. And I went, what do you mean? My shoulders are back. And she goes, come look in the mirror. And I go, huh? And so I look in the mirror and I went, oh. And like I think my shoulders were like kind of like.
So hunched forward. Yeah.
And I swear to you, I thought I was doing this. Yeah. And I went, oh my God. I go, I kind of can't. And she goes, and she does it. And then the photographer did it. I went, oh, and like, you're so busy in WWE. Like, I remember Seth Rollins one time told me, he said something about his injury. And I was like, oh, or like, are you so happy to be off? Like your injury, have some time. And he was like, you get one injury and you stop, then your ankle hurts, then your foot hurts, then your knee hurt. Like everything's like, wait, what are you doing? Like, why are you not stopping? So it's like a effect where you slow down. So, you know, like when women have babies like 9 months and they're like, I didn't know it was pregnant. Like babies on the toilet. They're like, I didn't know it was pregnant. Yeah. You're like, what?
Yeah. How?
We're really going so hard that I was like, I guess I've never had to put my arms back. And it was just like a little food for thought. I went to TV and we had this big meeting and I was walking with Tenille, with Emma, and John Laurinaitis passed me. And I said, hey. And I went like this.
Yeah.
Hey. And my hands kind of turned. So from this to this. And I went, oh gosh. I go, I was like, you feel like shooting pain when you do that, right? And she said, do what? And I said, when you put your hands like like behind, and she goes, no. And she does that. I go, you don't feel shooting pain? And she's like, no. And so then I started noticing and I'm like, well, that's weird.
Yeah.
And so then I started asking some of the boys and some of the boys were like, oh yeah, I can't flex my hand. And so it was almost normalized, this nerve damage, nerve kind of thing. And so then I could have ignored it. But then at the time too, like Daniel Bryan, I mean, you know, Brie was saying like Daniel Bryan couldn't like open the some doorknobs with like, you know, the nerves or whatever. And he's come out and said all that stuff. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, I was like, well, that ain't going to be me. Like, I'm not going to be able to one day not pick up my baby. So I went to our team doctor. And he was like, okay, we'll have you get checked out at a couple of places. And they were like, it's so weird. Had no idea. Sent me to the Pittsburgh doctor. And that's why I never knew my last match was my last match. Like the fans will send me, they're like, you wrestled Alicia Fox on a house show, I guess. one of my last matches, I'm like, I have no idea I can't remember my last match because I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I snapped my knee in half. Or
Are
like,
you able to wrestle again? Is that even a possibility?
yeah, like I will say I DDT'd someone in February, and it was like it was in a boxing ring.
Yeah.
I was filming something for Mike Tyson, and it was in a boxing ring. So that hurts way more. And I will say the bump was big, and I was like I was in pain for a couple of days. And I was like, I have to go see a chiropractor. So like I'm not like cold stone. I'm not like stone cold where like you can never wrestle.
I'll go Mike Tyson, then you said Cold Stone. That's perfect. Perfect little segue.
I'm just like really hungry for ice cream. So I'm not like, no one's ever told me you can't do it again, but I know I personally could never go over and over again. Could I like do the Royal Rumble and have like a little storyline? Maybe, but like I would need treatment. Like I need treatment now. Like I would get, my migraines got so bad. Well, when they were trying to figure out what was wrong with me, they stuck like 15 needles in my arm and sent electric shocks everywhere. And it's all this involuntary stuff, MRIs, CAT scans. And that's when they were like, you have thoracic outlet syndrome. A lot of MLB pitchers have it.
Okay.
A lot of pitchers having the throwing and the nerves. So I've gotten to a place now, thankfully, by a doctor in New York City called Dr. Shoshani. He has given me treatment like twice a week for almost a year. And he's put me on this like thoracic neck thing, which I know a lot of the boys know about. That's been great. But like, I mean, I had to get on migraine medication. Like there were times where like I couldn't work out forever. So it's like, though I miss it sometimes, I just know like I didn't have the surgery. So the surgery was, they wanted me to remove my first rib.
Yeah. No. No.
Okay.
That
so like
happening? No.
Outside of a scar.
Yeah.
I've had 2 fans come up to me at signings being like, I had the thoracic outlet surgery.
Oh.
The scar is the biggest thing. You can't sit up out of bed for 2 months.
Oh, yikes. So for you, that's not a thing. You're going.
So but even like the gym, like it's such a mental thing. You have to learn how to sit up because you're missing a rib, you're missing a bone structure. So it's like, and I'm like in my 30s, I'm like, I don't want to have that. So I just have to have like constant PT and stuff. Like I've done my own stunts for the movie I did last year.
Yeah.
And there's certain stuff where I love that, but like I could go take some bumps, but like I could never be on the road full time again.
Would you consider returning to wrestling in any form, whether it was taking bumps or even as like a character, just like a valet or a character or personality? Like,
of
is that something that's crossed your mind?
Yeah, like I love WWE. Like I haven't, gone to other promotions because I also know how that is with WWE, and like I definitely feel like my loyalty is with them. Like they gave me such a big part of my life. Hopefully one day I'll have a husband and a baby, but if I don't have a man, but I do have a baby because I adopt, it's like, I would want them to see like me, and like that was such a big part of my life. Like Summer Rae, I get called Summer on the street and I like turn around. So like I love wrestling. I would for sure be okay with going back. Like people that are always like, never say never. I'm like, why don't you just say yes? Like
I would. That happened.
Yeah, of course I would. Like, and too, like I would be super open to like any kind of broadcasting positions, hosting positions. When I lived in New York, a lot of people take the train to Connecticut for stuff. I think it would be cool to have a on-camera woman that has been in the locker room, that has done that kind of stuff. So it's an amazing company. It's, they're always growing. I still talk to KP, who's our publicist, who does our PR for WWE. She's great. So, yeah.
Is there anyone that you see now that you'd love to work with that you never got the chance to work with? Because a lot of the girls you were there when a lot of them were coming up, but there's been a new breed of women that have come through.
Yeah. I love, who I love? Bianca.
Yeah.
So I like really loved her in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
And so me, Tennille, and Barbie watched the Royal Rumble in St. Bart's when we were in St. Bart's for Vital Proteins. we watched the Royal Rumble, and I wanted to tweet her or DM her, but I didn't. I never did, and I should have. But I just think she's so athletic. I think she's stunning visually. She's so athletic. I just I love her body. I love her style. I love her energy. And I just thought she was like super infectious. Like I am in a way disconnected from wrestling, but it's also because I choose to be. I think I could watch it now, but it was just hard for me
at first when
to
you left.
because I didn't want to leave. Like I wasn't done. I felt like I could have done so much more. And it's not even about like being champ or anything. It's like I just felt like I could have accomplished a lot more there, and I loved it. I love the fans. I love the traveling. So I didn't know
you have some hidden gem matches against like Sasha and others from like main event and stuff.
Yeah,
but
if I ever went back now, I think I would have such a different skill set. Like I think wrestling would be way different, and I would
feel stronger because you're
like I would learn a lot. And I just think I'm like I'm so much more confident in myself, and like I just know myself more. Where I think a lot of times in WWE, I was like, because people didn't think I was like a worker or a technical worker, they were like, well, let's just have her do a Fez press, or let's just have you do this. And I think now I would stand up for myself and be like, no, I don't want to do that. Like I do want, and that's why I always loved wrestling Natty, because Natty would push me to boundaries. Like I never would do, like what's it called when I jump and she goes in between my legs?
The leapfrog?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not her. And she had me doing all kinds of stuff like that. Like, which by the way, I'm a heel, so I shouldn't be doing that flashy stuff. And Natty would be like, oh no, in Calgary, this is how we do it. Yeah. And so like Natty would be like, we would do these little spots at the beginning. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just look so athletic.
I know we have to go soon, so I want to go to the crypto thing. But first thing about wrestling I want to talk about really quickly is that Total Divas run. You're not that heel that was on that show. Oh, that's not who you are. For the people that don't know. Great. I loved it though. You were the show needed you. Like, the show needed you to be the bad person. But.
Yeah. The funny thing is, like, I always thought people thought I was so mean and so horrible and stuff like that. But really, I found out that everyone was like, no, you just kept it real. Natty was a bitch. Or like, Eva, you could wear red better than Eva, or whatever it was. Like, I thought people really hated me, and that would make me feel so bad. But again, 5% of Twitter is all that you see. And so it's like people saying that all these nasty things about me. So many of the followers were like, no, you were my favorite on Total Diva.
Did you enjoy the Total Divas run, and would you do reality TV still?
Oh, that's a double loaded question. I liked it. I liked it because now I like it now. I don't know at the time if I did, because I definitely feel like, you know, of course the producers are going to do their job and try to get the most out of you for the best ratings or whatever it is. So, I, again, would say no to a lot of things and push for a lot of things. But the main thing that I was super upset with is that I didn't get to use my real name, and they wanted me to use Summer. But hindsight is so 2020, because now I'm so happy that I use Summer, because now when agents look at it and producers look at it and they're like, oh, you are a great actress. Like you were playing Summer. So the fact that it wasn't my name, I have been up and close to a couple reality shows since then. And like my stance on reality now is like, in theory, I tell people, hey, I'm not open to reality, but I would love to hear you out. Because if someone from Netflix wants to talk to me, absolute people that won't even talk to anyone for a second, it's so close. But like, who knows what that person will be producing in the future, you know, like, or even a movie or whatever it is. So I always talk to people. I was on the final rounds of Real Housewives of Nashville.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I got really close for that. It's not going to cut us off right at.
No, it won't.
And so I got close to that. They just didn't have the casting there that they wanted. But from that, I became very close to the girl who was casting and the producer. And I pitched show. Oh, you want to talk about quarantine? Oh, I pitched
You read a show?
I pitched like 4 shows to her during quarantine. One of my friends that plays baseball, he plays in the MLB.
Yeah.
And then I were drafting this you know that show Too Hot to Handle?
Yeah, Too Hot to Handle. Yeah,
Oh, we had an idea based on Too Hot to Handle, and he called me. He was like, write this down. And I wrote, not for us, but we were going to pitch it.
Yeah, you guys are like the executive producers.
Yeah. And so all this stuff. So I just think life is a bunch of like Legos, and you're forever building on each Lego. And like, it would be crazy for me not to talk to someone. And I think reality TV post-pandemic is very different now, because obviously we just talked for an hour and it was super easy for me to talk. I think I have a lot to say. So I would be open to reality if it was done a certain way. And I think though Total Divas got a lot of slack, and Total Divas got a lot of, oh my gosh, the pushback we got backstage from the boys, from a lot of guys that would come into our shots. So we would just have to delete the scene because they knew E couldn't post that certain wrestler, and they would just come stand in our scene. And we're like, now we got to go film that again. And they're just being dicks. Like they knew that. So they're like, watch, I'm going to go mess this up. And I'm like, I have to go put a match on. Can you not? I'm working here. And mind you, we got paid like nothing for that show, like little to nothing. So it's not like you're taking away my paycheck. I just have to finish my obligation. But now looking back, like that show was so like transcending. Like that show
did bring a lot of female fans to wrestling. Sure. I give it a lot of credit for that, because there's a lot of women I know that follow my page and whatnot. And I'm like, how'd you get into wrestling? Oh, I used to watch Total Divas. And I'm like, oh, okay.
And that's so cool. And it's like, and then it's like women. When I was growing up in the 80s and the 90s, we would see these models on the runway and these magazine cover people, and they were thin and they were white and they were blonde. And that's all we saw. So to see like 7 or 8 girls that are badass, athletic, making their own money, having relationship issues, having babies, and still going out there and being an unconventional mom, like that is so important. And I will say the one thing that I do think WWE does a really good job of, and no one can take them away from that, is I think the representation of women in that company is really great. When it comes to body types, sure, it wasn't for some time, but now when it comes to colors of skin, nationality, short, tall, body types, thank goodness now sexual preference. But I really, really do think WWE, I just added 3 W's, WWE, does a great job with that. So when the twins just got inducted to the Hall of Fame, I texted them both something really long. Yeah. And I just was like, and I texted Kathy too. I talked to Kathy Laurinaitis like all the time. Actually. I was telling Nikki, and she was like, you talk to my mom? I'm like, talk to your mom like twice a week. And so I just love her. And like, I just told them like they did something different. And like when I was coming up with Summer Rae, I had to think of my gear. We all copy someone from our past. You have to your entrance. Thank goodness I have the top row adventures, because no one else has said something like that. But it's like you can't rewrite 30 years of wrestling. Like there's almost nothing that's new. But what the Bella twins did was new. And that is hard to do, and like people can't take that away from them.
You guys all took that risk when you guys were on that show, because at that, even at the season you were on, it was still hit or miss if this was gonna help you or hurt you in the long run. Nobody really knew.
For sure.
3-4 seasons, it was like, okay, they're doing the stuff on E, but are people gonna still take them credibly enough in the ring? What's the translation? And you guys, it ended up benefiting all of you guys. The show was super popular, still is super popular. It just hasn't aired in a couple of years, but I think I always credit 4 things to the women's revolution really popping off. The popularity of Ronda Rousey outside of wrestling, the women in NXT, Total Divas, and for me personally, I think the popularity of AJ Lee at that one period of time, because she was working with a lot of the men. Yeah. Once all those 4 things came together, it opened up the doors to a whole new generation of women's wrestling. We would love to see you back in wrestling. That is for sure. I can say that from my behalf for sure, and I can speak on behalf of my followers that we'd love to see you back. I also have one last wrestling question that I want to talk about. You being an executive marketing manager.
I know. We have so much to talk about.
Yeah, one last thing, because I know you have to leave and we're like going overtime.
No, it's okay.
I appreciate you sticking around. You're really good at talking, by the way. This is really easy for someone who's
really
not a morning person.
I really should have a podcast, not to like.
That was the question.
I don't think I'm like great at like. I'm not like saying like I'm the be all say all of like talking. I know I should have a podcast. I just literally.
That is the question. Because I was gonna ask you, like, why wouldn't you do a podcast with whether it's you and Tennille or you and Barbie? Like, why wouldn't the three of you do a podcast?
Wait, was that really your question?
That was my question. Because as you're talking right now, and I'm like, I know you're tight with Barbie. I know you're tight with Tennille. I mean, I think Tennille only followed me back. She realized we were friends. But
yeah.
And I was like, why wouldn't the three of you like do a podcast or just like, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
you do it like this virtually. You don't need to be in the same place.
For sure. Like, I think I had a really good idea for a podcast, and I like the idea of podcasts. The thing for me is that I have so many goals, and you want to know what I learned from the pandemic? This is what I learned. And I've told people this, and I'll get to the podcast thing. Pre-podcast, every agent, manager, social media manager, which by the way, I don't make good money from my Instagram. I'd be lucky if I make $1,000 a month off Instagram. I know a lot of these girls do. I don't. I have a strong male following. I understand.
Trust me.
I have a male following. They want females. Barbie, go girl. Barbie has like 40% females. It's great. Anyways, I say that because I've had so many social media managers be like, oh, I'm about to make you rich. And then they're like, oh, we can't get you any money. So the main thing pre-pandemic that people said was wrong with me was you're doing too many things. You need to pick one thing.
Yeah.
Everyone, this is the best lesson you will learn: to never listen to anyone but yourself. Pre-pandemic, you're doing too many things. Your hands are doing too many things. You need to pick one. You're all over the place. It's a negative thing. Pre-pandemic. Post-pandemic, it is so good that you have your hands in so many things. That is one of your best assets. And now something's going to stick. Actually, you know what? I think more than one thing was going to stick. When I tell clients about you or other people, I talk about you because you're doing so many different things. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, you can't listen. I don't know who said it. Oh, CM Punk on Twitter once said, "Don't take advice from people that you wouldn't take it, or haven't done anything themselves. You wouldn't take advice from in the first place." So then I'm like, yo, that's actually true because I've taken advice from so many people throughout the years, and I changed things, and I've seen things like not end up working. I'm like, oh, but when I was doing it my own way, shit was popping. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and it's crazy, and it's like, listen, like, have one or two people that like you can ask advice for, but isn't that crazy? The switch up, like I had like 7 people telling me that last February, like, you're doing too much stuff. So now I love how many people try to put me in a box. Like, I was actually having a conversation with an attorney for one of my projects. So I'm starting a social media app, and I'm developing an app. I've been developing it since last September. My business partner lives in Australia. I'll come on the show again when that gets going. It is a process, but we have a attorney. Sorry, my grandma is actually calling me right now.
Oh, shout out to grandma.
We have an attorney. I should put her on the podcast. We have an attorney. When I was talking to her and meeting her, she was like, so she was like, you're a model. And I was like, well, and she was like, oh, but you're a businesswoman. And then she said something and she goes, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to put you in a box. And I hate as a woman when people try to put me in a box. And she caught herself, and I just go, no, it's okay, because like, I take it as such a compliment now. I'm doing stunts and acting. I'm represented by a modeling agency. I'm an entrepreneur starting my own apps. I am now a social media marketing executive in cryptocurrency. I'm on air camera for the Triple Crown horse racing. Like, you can't, like, I also run Airbnbs. Like, you can't put me in a box. So when it comes to a podcast, I love it. I think I'm very fortunate for a platform where that could possibly make me money after WWE. I just don't think I could give the time and effort that I would want to put out something with my name, because it takes a lot of work. And like, I know this is a casual conversation for you, but some of the podcasts I listen to, they read books before they
Yeah.
interview people and do
But I
this.
feel like you guys have enough experiences just in life anyways to sit there and talk. And two, the only thing I think you'd really need to do is just find someone that'd be down to edit it for you guys. You guys record it, you send them, and they do all the editing,
For
and they put it out.
sure would need the editing.
Yeah, that'd be it. And then I just also think my wheels started spinning when you said it before. If you're trying to grow that female following, when they get to know you, other than what they see on social media, those women are most likely to listen to the podcast more than the men, to be honest. If it's, you know, 3 of you girls shouting it up, you don't have to talk about wrestling all the time. You guys have so much experience outside of wrestling. I wouldn't even put it in a box where it is just about wrestling.
No, I mean, and I know so many people that I'm going to go. Oh, my grandma. Don't you love how now voicemails come to text?
Yeah, thankfully, because I never listened to my voicemail.
She's going to the podiatrist. I know so many different groups of people, as far as like athletes, celebrities, stuff like that, where like it wouldn't be wrestling, you know?
Exactly. Like, obviously, an episode, maybe, whatever. But other than that, like, it's open to be whatever you want it to be. Like, these casual conversations with the classic isn't the TWC show I talk about weekly wrestling. This is where we can talk about whatever. Like, you know, I've had guests on here that aren't even in the wrestling industry, like, at all. Just because that's people I know I got to know. I'm like, let's shoot. For my following, they might know you. You're a YouTuber. They like your YouTube stuff. Oh, you do podcasts. Let's talk.
You put podcasts out every week.
I do a TWC show every week where I talk about this past week in wrestling because it's on Dash Radio and whatnot.
Oh, yeah. Because
it's just my quarantine thing that I came up with that I'm gonna do because I'm like I can't travel no more and meet people in person and try to do the stuff, so I might as well do it this way. That's
my fear, is like to put something out weekly and me not be able to do it. So like, for example, this week I fly to LA Wednesday. Thursday I have a premiere of a pilot I shot, which I'm so excited about. This pilot, I just think, for anyone at home that doesn't know what a pilot is the pitch that you a first episode that you film on yourself, not by yourself, but like the company, and then you pitch it to networks and you pitch it to people that have money and want to put it together. But when I tell you, this is
just for a show.
Yes, and this pilot is just...
What are you not doing? I've heard about companies, apps, shows.
I can't do... that's why I have no time for anyone in my life except for me.
Yeah.
And it's like...
Thank you for making time for me today. I really appreciate it.
Of course. You were like the first person. I was like, we have to do our stuff. But it's like this... I just think this pitch is like, this pilot's a home run. So anyways, I have that premiere on Thursday. It's not picked up, but we're having a red carpet for some reason. Then on Friday, I fly to Baltimore because Saturday is the Preakness, and the Preakness is the second race of the Triple Crown after the Kentucky Derby. And so I'm commentating for their the actual Preakness. They're set. It's like outside of my contract with America's Best Racing. So with that, so it's like on weeks like this, I just wouldn't want to be like, oh, I have a podcast to do. That's and fair. I'm like stressed. But
if you do it with other people, then you don't need to show up every week.
Yeah, that is true.
You rotate. Oh, this person's not here this week. That's okay. Oh, well, this person's not here that week. Oh, okay, that's okay.
Yeah, and I think that there are some platforms that would maybe like pay. I actually have I kind of know someone that maybe they would pay me like, oh, if you do 10 episodes for us, we'll pay you X amount, because then that would be definitely something where I put my money.
And the other thing is just consistency. Even if you said we're going to drop 2 episodes a month, not week by week. Just stay consistent with 2 a month. People will be satisfied, you know?
Yeah, for sure. So I do enjoy it, but we'll see.
First woman or first female athlete to be an executive in a crypto company. That's where we're at.
Well,
How did that come about?
It actually may be first athlete, but we didn't.
Well, first athlete,
we didn't know. Oh, we didn't know. So we put female athlete to be specific. So I am working for it's a company called Cornerstone Global Management. It's a crypto international fintech. So fintech is that sounds like James Bond. Fintech is finance tech. And the product that we have is called Hedge, kind of like a hedgehog. I have created this whole hedgehog for us. And what it's going to do is it is one of the first platforms that will take your paycheck from your company. It takes a percentage of your paycheck. for direct deposit every 2 weeks or month or whatever, or it takes a certain percent or a certain amount, like $50.
Yeah.
And it converts it into safe long-term crypto, which we're doing 3 of them: Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Litecoin. I mess with like that and like lots of like crazy, like volatile stuff, but it puts it there. And then once it takes your $50, exchanges it into Ethereum, then it takes that and puts it to your wallet. So it saves the consumer 3 steps: transferring from the bank to here, transferring it here. Banks do not like cryptocurrency. It threatens the bank system. It eventually will shut down banks. So the more times you transfer from your bank to a cryptocurrency exchange, like everyone knows Coinbase, it just went public, they'll stop you. I have gotten a stop from Bank of America. I have 2 friends who have had their business accounts, one from US Bank, US Citibank or whatever, and one from Bank of America, put a hold, a frozen transaction on their business accounts. This is happening in America, and Hedge will stop you from doing that because it never has to even go into your bank. So your bank doesn't even know that you're investing in crypto.
It's doing the conversion for you through the app and going to the bank as
which is cool. And like right now with Ethereum, like it's just shooting through the roof. Like we haven't launched yet with Hedge, but I'm like, that's really exciting. So it's me and 6 other guys. They are super techie and very, very smart. And then I come in there and I'm like, hey guys, have you heard about Kim Kardashian just hit 1 billion profits on Skims? And they're like, what's Skims? So like we have a great balance because I have a marketing degree from East Carolina University, but I also am just like because of WWE, think about social media just all the time and branding. So I've been consulting for a lot of my friends' startups. I'm not sure if everyone has seen on my Instagram, I post about that that sports drink a lot, Barcode.
Yeah.
And Barcode is my friend's brand. I'm also involved in that because I've been social media consulting for him. So when I started working for, I didn't even start working for this company. They started kind of like we connected and I was giving them free advice consulting and they were teaching me about crypto, and week to week they were teaching me about it. And 2 months in, they were like, we would love for you to come on board as a executive director. And I was super flattered. So we are going to the Bitcoin convention June 4th and 5th in Miami. The creator of Twitter will be there, Jack Dorsey. Tony Hawk will be there. I don't know if you've seen the Facebook movie, but the Winklevosses, the twins that like started Facebook but like didn't get the credit for it. They'll be there because they're very heavy in the crypto space as well. And we're partnering with a huge company called Digifox. So it's been exciting and cool. And I just feel like it's weird because it's like this out of body experience. I said it, I was on Lisa Ann's podcast because her and I are good friends. And I said it on there that cryptocurrency, the thing that I think is relevant is like, remember when we all started learning about the internet and you wanted to get on the internet and you knew it was a big thing, but you were like, is the government listening? Or then you're like, well, will they steal your information?
How safe is that?
I'm going to put my bank card on the internet, which by the way, they're always listening. But it's like, I'm going to put my bank card on like AOL. Like what is that? And now it's just the internet. You just put your bank, they actually store your credit card information.
We know what they do, but we're okay with it now.
Right, totally. Well, so now it's like, well, it's just the internet. Like, and then when the internet's out, you're
if I'm getting screwed, everybody else is getting screwed too anyways.
Totally. So it probably took like when the internet first came out, like in the 80s, it probably took like a good 6 to 7 years for people to really start to wrap their head around it. And that's what this is now. Like 2 generations below us will just go, oh, it's just crypto, or it's like just the cryptocurrency, centralized. So, it's just this really interesting thing that like, if you're sitting at home with no job, just like learn the basics.
And I think a lot of people got into it over this pandemic. I think a lot of people, even in my own circle of friends and family, got into stocks, got into crypto. They've been talking. Like, that's how I know a lot about it, because like my own sister and her husband and all these people like crypto this, and I'm like, oh,
yeah.
it is a thing right now, guys, and it's a thing for a reason. Jump on it, you know?
Yeah, and it's just like, especially if you're like a conspiracy theorist and you think the world's out to get us, this is a decentralized currency. There is no person in control of it. I love when people are like, yeah, but like China. Like I've literally had people say this to me, like 3 people, they're like, well, be careful investing because like China. And I'm like, China what? Who? What? What do you mean? And I'm like, so if you lose your password, like people have millions of dollars floating around because they don't have their seed word. So I would also say my biggest, I'm going to put this on the Instagram, but like my biggest misconception, I think in my mind for crypto is that you need a lot of money to invest. And my old roommate keeps telling me that. He's like, well, let me get a little bit more money before I invest. And I'm like, well, first of all, this is only going to last till about September, October, that this market is going to be so aggressive. You are missing out on making money. You can put $50 into something long-term solid. Someone that put $50 into Bitcoin 5 years ago probably has generated close to 10 grand. Now, mind you, there's the exception to the rule, but the way Ethereum's running right now, it's going way faster than Bitcoin. So if you don't know much about anything, start small. But I will say anyone putting their money into crypto, you need to know that you can't just take it out. You can, but you'll pay about 47% in taxes. And now because of Biden, you'll be paying maybe 57, which is just absolutely mind blowing. But again, they're trying to stop.
They're trying to stop this from being a thing.
It is the same as it's the same as legalizing marijuana. They couldn't control it, and now they're making it legal so they can take a piece of the pie and tax it. So it's going to happen the same as, you know, crypto. But if you leave it in for a year, your taxes go down significantly, down to like 10%. So, you know, I've had a lot of friends like just put 6-7 grand in, and I have mentioned taxes to them and they were like, what? And I'm like, you don't just put it back into your bank. You're going to lose half. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, why?
They didn't do their research.
So, I don't know. Definitely don't do. And even if you're not investing, learn about it, because if you're having young kids, they're going to have debit cards for crypto. We're probably not even going to have debit cards.
People are trying to find ways to accept, you know, Bitcoin and crypto for
which I would never give up. Like people that are accepting Bitcoin and Litecoin and Ethereum right now, I'm like, I would never give you mine. Like I'm doing that forever. So I don't know. It's just good to educate yourself. I remember when I first got a cell phone. I remember when I first got a beeper, and then you got a cell phone.
I know when you were saying that thing about in the future, like 2 generations from now, you're gonna be like, oh, it's just Bitcoin. It's just
like, remember when we all
I remember when I had a cell phone and had Snake on it, and you could barely talk. You'd have to hit a button 3 times to get the right letter. Like,
yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the fact that the government thinks, I put this on my Instagram the other day, but the government thinks that dying is a taxable event. You get almost 40% taxes when someone dies, and you have to put them under the ground and do the funeral expenses. You're taxed just from the death, just from leaving the hospital. That should, I don't want to tell you what.
That's a whole nother episode.
That makes that makes me not want those people to be in charge of my money. Like that's really insane. So, it's just, the world is going to move, and you either get behind it or you get left.
So first things first, though, congratulations, though.
Thank you.
Clearly proving that you're very knowledgeable in what you're doing. And
I'm learning.
Anyone that's out there like, she's got a marketing degree. She's prepped for this. She's, you got that down.
But I just learned, like, you just have to learn, or you have to find someone that's smarter than you and ask them if they can teach you once a week. 100%. I asked this guy, the CEO of my company, I asked him the dumbest questions ever because
You have to ask the dumb questions to get to the smarter ones. I always say it to people. I've been a manager when I was working in the banking industry. Like, I had to train people and stuff. And I'm like, listen, I know there's a whole cliche, there's not a stupid question, but there's stupid questions. I'm like, honestly, ask me any little thing. Because I remember when I started, I didn't know shit. And I used to be scared to ask questions. And then I made dumb mistakes. And like, why don't you just ask? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, if you don't want to go to that person, ask me. Like, I'll tell you. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
totally. And I will say, like, I think if I knew that I was eventually going to work for this company, I would have never asked. I would have been taking notes.
And when probably took that in consideration that you were asking. And they're probably like, yo, she's like hands-on.
Well, but I was like being like, oh, the blockchain, so are there blocks on it? Yeah. And he would be like, no, but he never made me feel stupid. And that's great. Now, mind you, if I was interviewing for them, I would have taken a note beside me and go blockchain, and then I would have Googled it. But because I never thought I'd even work for them, I was like, well, can you tell me what that, like, I would just ask the stupidest things. And I think I'm just realizing right now, mid-30s, for the first time in my life, the more that I am myself, the more that I'm
going to say that. I'm the same way, because I'm like, if you wrap everything up, go all the way back to your video reel that was like 30 minutes long that you gave I feel like just the more authentic you are and the more you are yourself, the more they're trying. Whether you're trying to fit that role or you're trying to be that person, they're like, now you're trying too hard. Like, you know, that's different.
Totally. Yeah. I've definitely learned that the more I am me, the more that they ask. I could not tell you anything about horse racing when I got that job. But I said to them, I said, listen, I don't know anything about it.
It came out of left field too. I'm like, where did this happen?
Totally. And I said, listen, I don't know anything about it, but give me a week and I'll know everything about it. So as long as you're hungry and you want to work and you have a positive attitude, people will ask you for stuff. And by the way, I got the horse racing thing because I had a friend suggest me for it. So I will say, like, if you're not leaving, I mean, get vaccinated, whatever you need to do, but wear a mask. But if you're not leaving your house and meeting someone, if you're meeting people online or Twitter, but you have to have people to suggest your name. And that's what's hard for me. Like, I could stay in my home forever and never leave, but I make myself go network because I have to.
And that's the hardest thing right now for me for not traveling, because I feel like those in-person chilling and hanging out and networking, grabbing lunch and stuff is what keeps you in people's minds. It doesn't matter how much you email or text someone, eventually you're out of their mind because they haven't seen you for a while.
Totally. Well, especially with WWE, that's how it would always be. And it was like when I talked to Vince, he would be like, okay, great. I don't want you to leave. I'm going to get you on TV. I want you in this role. I have this role. And he would tell me an idea. I'm like, cool, that's great. And then I wouldn't be called back to the road. And then of course you're going to think about John Cena and Randy Orton. As you should. Like, I don't fault you for it. You didn't do me dirty, but it is when you're not there, you don't have that control. So, you know, my path has led me to where I am. And if I would have stayed at WWE, I wouldn't be where I am today. So like, I never think, oh, they did me bad or they didn't do me. Like, I think it's great. Like, I accomplished such a dream of mine. And, you know, I know there's many more days for me in my future.
2 last questions. First one just from me for fun because I'm a fan and we're friends. So like, when are you going to introduce me to Madison Beer and like, how is that going to happen?
Oh my gosh, how funny, y'all. So I met her. How do you know that I know her? I
was following her obviously, and I was like, I wonder if she follows. And I was like, what? Her and Danielle follow each other? I'm like, how did this? Oh my gosh! And she I know one person that knows Madison.
Oh my god, she like doesn't follow a lot of people, so I was very flattered. So we were in January before I was even in Miami. I was in Miami, and I'm not kidding you. We got sat next to the pool, next to each other for 4 days in a row. It got to the point where we were like, hi again. Like, what? And it was her dad. And her dad was like, we met you years ago when you were blonde. And I was like, really? And she didn't remember, but her dad remembered. And I was like, oh my gosh. And we just had so many mutual friends. And she hit it off with me and one of my best friends from New York. And we just thought they were great. Like, and we didn't end up going out together or whatever. And then her album came out, so she was busy. But when I go to LA and I have more than a day, I will hit her up. but she was super, super sweet. I mean, she's crazy young, but she's very like mature for her age. And I really enjoyed our talks and our time together. Yeah.
So I just thought that was funny, and I want to bring that up because it'll make the people listen to this pop. The second thing, last question, and we'll wrap this up, and I'll let you go because thank you firstly for staying longer than
we have time. No, I needed to
person. I apologize if I've messed your day up a little bit.
No, it's okay.
Very last question though, just to wrap everything up and go back to, I'm the Wrestling Classic and whatnot. For the wrestling fans, what do you want them, or how do you want to be remembered to the wrestling fans?
I
know you're not done yet. In your mind, like you're not fully done. You'll come back if you'll come back. But if you want them to remember you in a certain way, whether it's for you as you as Summer Rae, the character, how do you want the wrestling fans to remember you?
I would never want to tell my fans how I want to be remembered, because one of the most fun things for me is when I meet them and they tell me how they view me, and like they tell me like, you helped me with this, or so many people tell me like, I love when you post your workouts, it motivates me to work out, or I lost so and so amount of weight, or oh my gosh, I love when you slap Natty, or oh, I love the BFFs. Like I love to hear people's perception of me, and like that's why I don't like regret doing Total Divas or anything like that, because so many people come up to me and be like, oh no, I didn't think you were the villain at all. Like you were so cool. When in my head, I thought I was playing such a heel. So I love meeting the people, and I'm very thankful for, I remember Snapchat was when people started realizing I was like really cool and nice, because there was no Instagram stories yet. Yeah. And so I really enjoyed that, because people were like, oh my gosh, I thought you were like how you were on Total Divas. And then when I saw your Snapchat, I was like, dang, she's so sweet and she's so funny and cool. And I'm like, that's great. So I do love social media for that, because I get to let people in a little more. So I just like to hear how people see me, because I think the fans are smart.
The best answer. And I don't think you're done yet either. So it's not like a full what is your legacy question? It doesn't work that way yet. But thank you. I appreciate you just coming on here, chatting, doing the thing.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Again, hopefully. Introduce me to Madison Beer, and I think we're good.
Yes, fabulous.
Is there anything else you want to add or let people know? If they don't know, obviously you can follow Danielle on social media at Danielle Moinet. Follow the crypto company. What's the Instagram for that?
Yeah, so let's see. I think it's Get Hedge Crypto.
I think it is the Hedge too. And when's the official one?
Well, we're coming. It's
to be determined.
Maybe as early as June. Get Hedge Crypto, which is a little confusing because it's not a currency, but the hedgehog and everything, it was all my doing.
I'll put all the links in the links,
and then you can also follow America's Best Racing, so you can get my live stream. My live stream is every Friday from now until Del Mar, so till October. Every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we go live on Twitter. And if you have $10 to bet for horse racing is the highest return on investment. You can bet $10 and win 100. When if you bet $10 on the Super Bowl, you win double or nothing.
How hyped do you get when you win? It's exciting, right?
Yeah, I won $1,300 in Florida.
That's insane. Well, congratulations. Guys, keep up with Danielle. Follow her on social media. I really appreciate you doing this with me. Looking forward to all the things you're doing. Pilots, apps, crypto, wrestling, fitness, everything. She's doing everything, guys. Hopefully a podcast one day. We don't know. Other than that, guys, keep doing the thing. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you all next time.
Hey, guys.
Ooh, yeah, dig it. Bye.
It's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.